Josh Traver. Welcome back to our Exploring the Psalms series. Last week we kicked off this series by looking at Psalm 23:1, which shared that the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. This week we're going to look at the next two verses in Psalm 23, which share, He lets me rest in green meadows. He leads me beside peaceful streams, and He renews my strength. He guides me along right paths, bringing honor to His name. So, if God is our shepherd, that means that we are sheep. Now, I'm sure some of you have taken your kids or your grandchildren to zoos or petting zoos, and you have seen sheep there. Now, if you look at sheep, they are not considered the toughest animal. They're not considered the scariest animal. They're considered cute and fluffy, and we think of them when we try and go to sleep. God uses this imagery of us being His sheep to remind us that we are not so big and bad and tough as we think we are. We need a lot of help. Just as sheep need a lot of help and guidance, we too need help and guidance. Psalm 23 shows us that we as sheep need someone to guide us in our lives. Because if we're being honest, we feel vulnerable all the time. We feel like we wander from things that we shouldn't wander from. And we also feel like, if we're being honest, that we don't choose the right path in our lives. But here's the encouragement that we see in Psalm 23, verses 2 and 3. It is to be okay with being one of God's sheep. Being okay as one of God's sheep means we can look up to the heavens and say, okay, God is my shepherd, which means He knows what's best for me. He's the one who's going to guide me in my life. These green pastures that we hear from Psalm 23 reminds us that God leads us to the nourishment and satisfaction for our souls. He's not going to lead us to a dry and weary place. He's going to lead us to a place where our souls are satisfied and nourished. These quiet waters that David shares is restoration and refreshment for our souls. So often we look at other places to fill our souls up that they often leave us thirsty and more thirsty. Remember what Jesus said at the woman at the well, that when you drink from living water, you will no longer thirst again. And God, as our shepherd, wants to guide us, wants to lead our souls into that restoration, into that refreshing water. He also leads us on the right path, meaning God guides us and leads us in the way that we should go, so that we don't go to danger, but that we are safe in His hand. So, here's three things that I would encourage you and me to do as one of God's sheep. You should listen, follow, and trust. Listen to His voice. Jesus shares that He is the good shepherd and that His sheep know His voice. And so as one of God's sheep, I encourage you and me as well every day to listen to the voice of our shepherd. Secondly, follow His voice. He leads you to what is best for your life. Sometimes it may not be what we want in our sinful nature, but God knows what's best for us. The prophet Isaiah shares that God's ways are higher than our ways, and that we won't know what His ways are from sometimes. And lastly, trust. Trust that He knows what's best for you. God is so far higher than us, and He is our shepherd, and He is our good shepherd, and He calls us to trust Him. So, listen to the voice of your shepherd. Follow His guiding for you in your life. And trust that He knows what's best for you, because He is guiding you and leading you in all goodness of life. God bless.